My guest today is Nicky Abdinor, born without arms, not without attitude. Nicky Abdinor is an expert on doing more with less. She's a registered clinical psychologist, an international speaker, and founder of the non-profit organization Nicky's Drive. She has a passion for challenging our perceptions of ability. She's a firm believer that it's not our situation, but how we think about our situation that determines our emotional well-being. Nicky is a sought-after inspirational keynote speaker who gained international recognition following her amazing TEDx talk, Driving Dreams. She was awarded the 2022 Speaker Hall of Fame Award, a great honour, through the Professional Speaking Association of South Africa. Nicky has presented talks as far as Europe, the USA, Middle East and Australia, and now will be chatting to us from her office in Cape Town. So lovely to have you here with us, Nicky. So nice of you to join us. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing really well, thanks, and great to be on the show.
You're welcome. So because my show is called Unbroken, the first question that I always ask all of my guests is, what does that word unbroken mean to you?
Well, when I think of the word unbroken, I mean it brings a lot of thoughts into my head, but I think for me personally, it's about finding meaning
Mhm.
in our perceived brokenness. And I say perceived because I think sometimes people can look at us and have different ideas about how broken we are as to the norm. And
Yes.
I feel very strongly that the power that I have is to understand where I am broken
Mhm.
and understand what I need to do to adapt and accept and also to overcome those challenges.
And from watching your TEDx, it doesn't look like you ever really struggled with your height or your lack of arms, because you're just over a meter tall. Is that right?
Yes, that
And
is
I
what.
say tall and not short. I'm a little bit taller. I'm 5 foot tall, but my dad was teeny weeny, so I am one of the tall ones in my family. But even still, people, I imagine, assume there would be difficulties. But
Yes.
from the videos I've watched of you spoon feeding yourself porridge with your feet and just falling down and getting back up, it's never happened. But can we go back to the start, because you were born without arms and
Yes.
smaller
Shortened
than,
legs.
yeah,
Yes.
shortened legs, that's what we say. But there was no reason, though, was there? No medical explanation that they could find.
No, at that stage, I think a lot of people ask me if it was due to thalidomide, because I know there
Yes.
are many people in the world without arms or legs
Hmm.
due to thalidomide, but I love to say that I'm far too young for thalidomide. So that was not the reason. And they did a number of genetic tests to have a look, and nobody could find the reason. It's just something that happened. I've got older siblings and a younger sibling. They have arms and legs. So it was just something sporadic that happened.
And did
And
your mum find out when you were born, or did they discover that when you were in the
yes,
womb? Or
yes, well, okay, I am giving away my age. Yes, I was too young for thalidomide, but I'm too old for the scans and knowing if
okay,
you're having a boy or a girl.
okay.
So it was a complete shock for my parents. And I can imagine it was a really difficult situation, not expecting anything to be wrong physically. And it took them not too long to adjust to it, but I think they decided to be very proactive from the start. I'm fortunate to have a very positive approach to life. I always call myself a realistic optimist. And naturally, like everybody, we have different moods and different feelings and thoughts. I can never say that I've been clinically depressed. I mean, there were times in life when I got really frustrated or disappointed, but I think that ultimately I've had such a positive attitude that it hasn't held me back. And I'm so grateful for that. I mean, often when I see clients who are struggling with mental health issues, I'm almost relieved that I've got a physical disability because I feel like I know exactly what I need to do.
Yeah.
And often having those challenges, it just feels so overwhelming.
And where do you think this positivity stems from? Where do you think it comes from? Because some of us
Maybe
can
the
tap into
person.
it, and some of us struggle to tap into that, really, don't they?
Mhm. I think it is just part of my personality, my temperament that I was born with. And, also just being brought up in an environment that was very nurturing and encouraging. I grew up in a small town, and I think that, I don't know, it sounds silly, but I think that that really made a huge impact because people knew who I was.
Mhm.
I was never hidden. I was always encouraged to do everything along with my friends. The teachers, even though inclusive education wasn't the norm, were so open-minded and encouraging. So I had a really good early childhood development. And as a psychologist, you'll know
Yeah.
that that's so important to your general well-being, attitude in life, positivity. And I think that that worked really well for me. So when challenges did happen, and believe me, there were
I'm
challenges,
sure there must have been.
but I'm actually quite grateful for them. I'll share one of the big challenges that had
Sure.
a huge impact on me was growing up in this small community, everyone knowing me, doing really well in school. And then when I was, I don't know, in the UK, I know you do years, but
Mhm.
in South Africa, it was grade 8 and 9. Our family, we moved to another
So what
province.
age would you be then? Now that
I
seems like you
was
said.
14 years old.
Okay, so it would be
The
secondary school then.
worst,
Yeah,
the worst age to
yeah.
have to do. And I think I lived in La La Land then. You know, I was so used to everyone knowing me, everyone accepting me. I was a prefect at school. I had lots of friends. And then I went to a new school, and I actually think I had unrealistic expectations. I thought it was going to be quite easy to adjust. And the first day I arrived, it was such a shock to me because here was a school, it was large school, it was massive, about 3 or 4 times the school
Mhm.
size I had been in. It was also co-ed, so there were boys and girls, and it was mostly Afrikaans, and I was English.
Okay.
So 90% of the school spoke Afrikaans as a first language. Even though Charlize Theron says there are only 44 Afrikaans speaking people. I'm not sure if you're aware of that in the news. Um, Sorry, just a South African
Yeah,
joke there.
that's okay.
I'll have to fill you in later. But it was such an adjustment for me that first day. Nobody spoke to me. I mean, nobody had ever seen someone with a disability, let alone mine. And I remember at the end of the day, the school teacher actually called one of the girls in the class to say, and I could obviously hear what he was saying. And he said, please, you know, go speak to her, say hello to her. And then
I
she told
have ears.
me.
No arms, but I have ears.
So it was such a shock to the system. But I think it was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me looking back, because it really made me realize that I need to show people who I am from the inside. It's going to be really important. And if I want to be accepted and understood, I'm going to have to speak out.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to let people know who I am. And I did.
I mean, it's 14, as we said, it's such a tricky age anyway, with all your hormones firing off. And then to move school, so to be the new person is always hard. And then to have an obvious disability, to stand out for not the reasons that you want to stand out for. You want people to know you and like you. Yes, it's a lot of challenges. Did you ever get bullied? I'm thinking of when you go to a co-ed school, thinking of boys. I don't know why I would think boys would be bullies more than girls. I'm sure girls are just as bad. But did you ever have a hard time at school?
Funny enough, I didn't. And the only time that I think that, I mean, if I could say bullies, it was more people like strangers. So perhaps you in a public place and you with your friends, and then maybe somebody else would more like, oh, she's got no arms, and point and stare. But I think what I was lucky is my friends were like almost like bodyguards.
Hmm.
So if we like say we're on a playground, I've got a memory of being on a playground and these kids saying that you hiding your arms, you do have arms. And then a friend like just going up to them and like giving them you know, the story and shouting at them to get lost.
Hmm.
And you know, so that was great for me. I think that's what helped protect me.
So you
But
had an
I
army of supporters, which we all need an army, really, don't we? We all need people that will stand up
absolutely.
for us.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, especially when you don't have the courage to do it for yourself. I think one of the most memorable questions, it was actually very early in my speaking career. I spoke at a prep school. It was, I think, maybe 6 to 9 year olds.
Hmm.
And the one little girl, it was a girls' school, she said to me, but Nicky, when you get married, where will your ring go? Like that was her biggest concern.
Oh.